I think the most evil organizations in the world today are the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. The principle underlying the foundation of the World Bank is that no country should grow its own food. Africa and the Third World should only grow export crops.
I have come across a video of an American economist called Michael Hudson, which I find it very interesting. I want us to watch this particular video. I will be back.
What makes African and Third World debt different from the American debt? Number one, America is never going to pay its debts. It doesn't have to. Its debts are in its own currency. We can simply print it. The African debt is not in its currency. The African debt is in US dollars. Africa has to earn the US dollars, and the only way it can earn the US dollars is not to be assassinated for growing its own food and becoming independent and doing something that the United States does not like. The principle underlying the foundation of the World Bank, the International Bank for IBRD, research, the World Bank, is that no country should grow its own food. Africa and the Third World should only grow export crops. To export, in order to have an oversupply of cocoa and other tropical raw materials, to keep down the price, they must buy their grain from the United States or Europe, so that if they do something that we don't like, we can do what America tried to do to China in the 60s. We can sanction them. We can say, we're going to starve you. We're going to not export any grain to you. So owing their foreign debt in dollars means that they have to somehow sell something that the United States wants, not what they want. I think the most evil organizations in the world today are the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. And my book, Super Imperialism, that I wrote in 1972, is all about that. The largest purchasers of the book were the Defense Department and the CIA. I was immediately, the organization I worked for was given a $75,000, $85,000 Defense Department contract for me to come to explain to them how American imperialism worked, and they used it as a how to do it book. They thought it was just spontaneous. And I had written the book thinking that socialists and third world countries would do something about it, and indeed it was translated into Spanish and other languages. But it was really the Defense Department that applied most of this, and I was amazed when I was invited to the White House to explain how imperialism worked. And my boss said, we've run rings around the British imperialists. This is how to do it. You make them owe the debts in your currency, not their own. You control their central bank and make them financially dependent on you, and then you've got a stranglehold for them. So certainly the third world countries should cancel the debts under the odious debt principle. I haven't been able to convince any of them to do it because they said if we do that, the CIA will kill us. So how do you break that cycle? That's a problem I've not been able to solve.
Yeah. The other thing, when you were responding to the first question, there's also something we're suffering from in Africa, the devaluation of currency as another way of
devaluation of
the currency.
Oh, currency, yes.
As a way of keeping us dependent continuously.
That's a good point. When a country devalues a currency, what are they devaluing? Well, you know, there's a world price for grain, a world price for aluminum, a world price for raw materials. The only thing that they can really devalue is the price of their labor. So when Africa or Latin America or Greece is told to, or America is told to devalue the currency, what that means is pay labor less. You have to squeeze out more to pay the top of the economic pyramid, to suck it all up to the top 10% or 1% or 0.1%. So devaluation is basically an anti-labor policy to prevent a domestic market and prosperity from developing. That is why China and Russia are saying, we don't want to be part of the dollar area. We want our own currency, and we'll only borrow in our own debt. Last time I went to China, it was a little annoying because they insisted in paying me in yuan, which all these little red bills that you have to go to a bank to turn in, and yet they said, well, we're following your advice. What do you complain about? So what could I do? It's a good idea, but at least they don't want any part of American sanctions.
Many Africans, a lot of Africans, don't believe in such narratives. A lot of Africans think Africans are just giving ourselves excuse not to be developed. They think we have been talking too much and our leaders are just corrupt. And a lot of African countries can't develop because we are always electing the corrupt leaders. That's the narratives which is out there. One of my interests of what the man said is when the man said, even the crops we grow in Africa is somehow being controlled by the Western country, especially Americans. I have been thinking for some time now, why does most Africans have abundant virgin lands, but most of the times we import, most of African countries import more food than how they grow our own food? How come African leaders are not making agriculture our priority to make sure, even though we may lack in other parts of other section of development, why can't we make sure when it comes to agriculture we can feed ourselves? How can't we feed ourselves? How can't we invest in agriculture field so that we make sure we may face all challenges, but what we will eat, we have control of what we will eat? Who is restricting us to invest in agriculture? Who is restricting us to invest in what we can feed ourselves? And there is a saying that goes, a hungry man is an angry man. So imagine as a leader, you come to power and your main aim is to make sure you are not going to let your citizens hungry. That is going to give you more space to do other developments. So how come we have all these vast lands across Africa and we still complain of hunger? How can't we invest in crops? Or how can't we invest in agriculture for us to make sure we are self-sustainable? Most of African currencies are depreciating because they import too much. Our currencies are not strong because we import too much. These days, I think there is no way a Western country can decide to come and bomb any African country because they are doing the right thing. So it's about time we stop being coward and make sure we are doing the right thing which will benefit our country and our citizens. We shouldn't be scared of who is going to eliminate you or who is going to do this. Our leaders just have to do the right thing. Because the old way of threatening you through sanctions, threatening you through this, that thing is now past. We now need bold leaders who can stand the Western countries and tell them enough is enough. Now this is what we want things to go. We can't keep being dependent on Western countries through aid, through loans. Now we want to be self-dependent, and this is what we want to do. And I don't think no country will threaten you of anything, because at the end of the day, we are in the modern world and you can't be eliminated because you are doing the right thing. Yeah, they may try it, but the world is awake now. Please, I want you to go to my description box and tap on a link, the Telegram link, and try to join our Telegram group, because we have been talking enough. It's about time we take action. And this action, I want us all to take it together. So I want you to go into the description box and click on the Telegram link and join our group on Telegram for us to share ideas together so that it can help us to build this continent. Don't forget to also subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification button so that anytime I upload any great content, you will be notified. Thanks for watching.